You know, sometimes the most fascinating stories are hidden in plain sight. They're not in the big news headlines, but tucked away in official documents. Today, we're going to unpack just one of those, the published papers from a major international scientific conference. We'll see what it can tell us about the future of global collaboration.
So, what you're looking at here is the cover of a collection of research from a 2019 summit in Beijing. This event brought together scientists from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. We're talking China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and a bunch of others. And they weren't just gathering to talk politics, no way. They were there to share hard science.
The conference chairman himself, Fan Fuquan, pretty much set the tone right in the introduction. The main theme wasn't just about individual projects, it was about synergy. You know, the idea of bringing a massive, diverse group of brilliant minds together to tackle problems they all share.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, get a feel for what these scientists were working on. Then, we'll zoom right in on two really interesting areas, personal finance and corporate strategy. And finally, we'll pull back out to see what this huge collaboration could mean for all of us.
First up, let's take a look at the research landscape. This is going to give us a kind of bird's-eye view of the incredible scope of challenges these scientists are trying to solve by working together.
It's a simple question, right? But believe me, the answer is anything but simple. The sheer range of topics they covered in just this one collection of papers is, well, it's genuinely staggering.
I mean, look at this. The table of contents breaks it down into these huge fields. You've got everything from economics and law to medicine and pure physics. It's basically a comprehensive look at the building blocks of any modern society.
And this is where it gets really wild. This slide just brilliantly shows the range. In the very same book, you've got researchers predicting how giant icebreakers push through frozen seas, doctors studying the salivary glands of human fetuses, and economists analyzing consumer debt. It's this incredible mix of the super specific and the broadly relevant.
All right, let's dive in for our first close-up and see how all this big picture research connects to real-world issues. We're zooming in on economics, and specifically on a topic that affects millions of people directly, personal debt.
So, a team from Ural Federal University presented this really deep analysis of a growing issue in Russia. They wanted to get to the bottom of what was causing the increasing debt load on everyday people.
First, a quick definition so we're all on the same page. When these researchers talk about debt burden, what they mean is the percentage of a person's income that has to go toward paying off loans each month. Obviously, a higher burden means less money for, well, everything else.
Now, this is where the data gets really interesting. Just look at that real income column. For 5 years straight, the actual purchasing power of people's income went down. That's huge. It means even if their paychecks looked like they were going up, once you factor in inflation, they were actually getting poorer year after year.
So here's the core of the problem, this massive economic squeeze. On one side, people's real ability to buy things was falling, but on the other side, banks are making it easier and cheaper than ever to get consumer loans. You put those two things together, and you've got a perfect storm, pushing more and more people to borrow just to get by.
Okay, let's shift gears. We've talked about the financial health of individuals. Now let's zoom in on our second case study, the health of modern companies and what it actually takes to make them competitive in today's world.
This is a massive question, right? And several papers in this collection tackled it from all kinds of different angles, looking at everything from intellectual capital to the very specific skills that make someone a great manager.
One study, for example, diagnosed the key skills of middle managers at a tech company. They measured all the things you'd expect, like being result-oriented and showing leadership, but also how well they managed their team's performance, and this is the really interesting part, their personal tolerance for stress.
Now, to figure this out, they didn't just guess. They crunched the numbers. This thing that looks like a super complicated spreadsheet is a correlation matrix from their paper. But its job is actually pretty simple. It's designed to find hidden statistical links between all those different skills they were measuring. And they found something absolutely fascinating. So while leadership skills were positively linked to managing team performance, which makes total sense, stress tolerance was negatively linked. Let me say that again. Managers who were really good at handling stress were actually less likely to delegate tasks. They just take on more and more work themselves, which, as you can imagine, can lead to total burnout and create a huge bottleneck for their entire team.
Another paper switched the focus from the people to the process itself. It made the case that for long-term health, companies really need to stop just chasing short-term profits and start managing for long-term value.
And they didn't just talk about it. They laid out a clear 4-step roadmap for any company that wants to make this change. It's a really practical blueprint. First, figure out where you are. Then, map out a strategy to get where you want to go. Third, create a detailed plan. And finally, put the new systems in place to make it all a reality.
Okay, let's zoom all the way back out. We've looked at personal debt, we've looked at corporate management. What does it all mean when you put it all together?
What we're really seeing here is so much more than just a collection of interesting articles. It's a snapshot of a huge intellectual network in action. You've got these scientists from totally different countries and cultures, all rolling up their sleeves and working on the same fundamental problems that every modern society is facing.
And the human scale of this is it's remarkable. Get this, the English language section of these papers alone featured 56 authors from 7 different countries, 56 experts, all pulling their knowledge together in one place.
And that gets us right back to the original goal of the whole conference. It wasn't just about showing off what they'd already figured out. It was about building a foundation for the next round of collaboration, creating this amazing feedback loop where shared knowledge sparks the next wave of scientific breakthroughs.
So, what we've looked at today is just one book from one conference, but it represents this incredibly powerful trend of scientific integration. And it leaves us with a really big question to think about. As these intellectual networks get stronger and stronger, how will their combined problem-solving power actually reshape our world?